Good morning, retail traders. I'm Washboardjim with a sneaky snake trading strategy where I talk where I like to talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And this week I'm going to do a video on how I think the month is going to be like and what to look for. These are just like guessing from history. And I'm going to pick out a few stocks that I'm going to be watching during this coming week and play the bounces off of them. You never know what this market's going to do. If we had a good correction on Friday and if that was enough to withstand what I'm talking about, but I'd like to see some red days and then buy the dips on these few stocks that I'm going to mention. So history tells, August. Seasonality. Usually in August, it's kind of a precursor to maybe consolidated month where we have a little bit of pullbacks and some bounces, and then leading in to September and October we kind of have more of a correction, but that's just going on history. And then we buy at the end of the year, bounce it back up for the Santa Claus rally. So this year's gone by real fast. The seasons here in Missouri have not been very well this year. We had a lot of rain, a ton of rain, and it ate up most of my spring, plus some of the summer. So after I get done here, I'm going to go out and lay at the pool and get a little exercise in. So this is the first part of August. You have the blue line, which has been since 1990 returns and that's since we've had the big bounce in the market. Well, we had the crash, and then we had the bounce where it started bouncing back up. And this is just, each one of these represent a day. And then in 1928, we had kind of, some dips in that month also, and running on up, but it's got more stagflated, more consolidated here since 1990. Because we've had some pretty good runs in the market since we started just printing all this money back during the Obama years. It's kind of started back during Bush, and then it really accelerated under Obama, and then Biden took over. Then we had Trump, we had COVID, we had to spend a bunch of money that wasn't necessary to spend, and then also during the Biden years where it really, really jacked up. So that caused big inflation. So I could see a little pullback this coming week and then take advantage of that the week after. You have the week of sell-off, and then you had a little bounce, kind of went sideways, and then we had the bounce on up through the rest of the month. So let's hope this happens fast. If it does happen, and that I'd keep an eye on your favorite tickers, the one that you really like, the ones that you've done well with, and create a little watch list off that and see how they do. So that's what I'm going to kind of do here in this video. So we're going to see what happens. I play it day by day. I buy the dips and sell at resistance. I've been scalping that were at all-time highs, and I don't want to take a big risk. Like some of the fat cats have been sitting out of the market, and they missed this last dip, run up. I called it at the 200 SMA, and whoever watched that video took advantage of the dip and run the market back up to all-time high. So we're going to start off with NVDA. Now NVDA was at 1081 after the split, and then it's run up all the way up to 1,074, which we're in a $4 trillion market cap right now. And they were whining and crying once we hit 3, and that's when we had the pullback. And then we had another pullback during the scare of inflation and tariffs, which was just all hype. I don't think the market's been affected by the tariffs. Some of the companies have added tariff costs to it, your apparel companies, but besides that, and there's no reason to be jacking up the prices because there's been no inflation if you look at the numbers. We did have a slow hiring month this last month in July, and that kind of brought some concerns in, but all in all the job market looks real good right now. So we're going to go through my main watch list, and I'm going to pick out a few stocks, and I'm going to write them down here on paper if I got my pen handy. And NVIDIA is going to be one of them. We did have us kind of an inverted hammer right here, which could cause a pullback to 159 something and hit that 9 on the weekly. So I'm going to put a price line right on that 9, and I'm going to run a trend line all the way up through here. There's the price line, and I'm going to take this trend line of resistance, and I'm going to go to that wick right there. This is on the weekly time frame, to that wick right there, and you see where we stopped on that triple top off them wicks on the weekly. Now the only time I use the wick when I'm charting is on the weekly time frame. Basically from the year to the hourly to the 30-minute, I'm using the bodies of the candles. But for the weekly, I'm using the wicks. And we did hit that resistance, and we could, have a nice little pullback to the 9 and respect that 9 like we have in the past 3 months, and still be a very bullish market. And that's right around 160. So I'd set an alert just right above that, just in case if we do pull back to that, and I'll know that that's the 9 EMA. And I'll type that in here on weekly. Then I'm going to go to the daily. I'm going to see we got the 9 right here. So if we hold the 9, that'll be your first support. And we're going to go ahead and put a price line right there on that 9. So we did pull back to the weekly support on the 9 also, which means we could bounce up off that resistance line that I showed on the weekly. And it could come back and double top or hit the bottom of that candle right there. So that's going to be our first support, first resistance at 177.71, with a solid support at 169 to stay bullish. So I'm definitely going to be watching this one here for a trade this week. And if we do have another pullback and we hit the 9, or we hit the 9 on the weekly, right around 160, 162, I might start scalping this trade up. We do have a solid support right here too, right around 166.63. So in that channel, that's going to be a support level. And let's go ahead and put a little support channel in there in case that shows up. I'll have to come back and look at the daily and the weekly and so see where we are on these support levels. The next one, and I trade the SPY and the SPX every single day. We got Amazon drop $19. So let's clean this up. I traded this last week. We've had a nice little run from that bottom that I called in the market, from 160 all the way up to about 235, 2 something. And we've got a rising wedge. So let's go ahead and put a trend line on that rising wedge. And we went below that rising wedge, and we almost pulled back to the 200 on the daily. So I'm going to clean this up. I want to go to the weekly first. So we got NVIDIA, and then Amazon. Amazon looks like it could be ready. We have one little more pullback on this thing and bounce in between these two right here. But let's take this to the weekly and see if we see something on the weekly time frame. Yeah, this is really nice. I mean, we've got these 3 major support levels right here. We got the 21, the 50 SMA, and the 63 EMA, and we broke below the 9. So the 9 is going to become a resistance level. And we're going to put a price line across the 9 on the weekly. And if we break the 9, then we know that we're going to be bullish. And then you got the 21, which we settled on Friday on that pullback. So we could easily come back one more time and hit right around 205 on the 50 SMA and be a strong buy. Now let's take this to the daily and see where they line up. So it's definitely pulled back to that 21 right there, or that 50. What is that on the weekly? I'm going to type that in here. That's the 21 EMA. So I'm going to put 21 EMA at 211.97, more or less 212. First support. On the daily. And that was the weekly. And then the next one will be that 200 SMA, which is usually a solid support. So I'm going to put a little, just in case it doesn't hold that 211.97, I want to keep this above the 200, and I'm going to put an alert right there. And I'll type in the 200 SMA, second support. On daily. Then the final would be the 200. We land right on the 200. I like every one of these support levels. I love them a lot. So this next one is the 200 EMA. And I'll type that up here in the window too. So that's going to be the next one, Amazon. We'll go over the recap this. We got the 21 EMA at 211, 212, 211.97 to 212. First support on the daily. If it does decide to go ahead and pull back, with the resistance to break will be 218.56. Resistance to break 218.56. So we got the 21 EMA 211, 212, 211.97 to 212 first support on the daily. The 200 SMA support on the daily for your second support, and then the low support is the 200 EMA on the daily, and then you got the resistance to break to make this go ahead and break out will be 218.56. The next one on the list is going to be Tesla. I really like Tesla, and we're going to see what we got here on the Tesla. So that's number 3. I like trading Tesla because the fat cats hate it, and this is a star stock to me. So I'm playing against the fat cats right now. We've got a symmetrical flag. Let's draw that in, but let's look at the weekly first. Right now we've been holding up to 63, so that's like a solid support. We're going to go ahead and put a price line, get rid of this, and we're going to put a price line. Come on. Oh, it's on there. 292.63 on the weekly. If that holds, we stay bullish. If not, we could have a pretty good drop down to 255, but that's a little bit too low for me. We'll just leave that right there, and resistance to break will be the 9 EMA on the weekly, which is right around 315.64. Then we'll take it to the daily. Now this is where I called support last week, and we landed right on it at 302.63. Go back and watch my videos. I got proof of it and evidence. And we have a symmetrical flag right here. It's called a pennant flag. So we're getting ready to squeeze again. I'm not saying this is a buy. And we landed right on that third support. You see we got the touch right here. We got that pullback right there. And then we pulled back and hit it again. So we're at the bottom of that flag, landing off the 200 EMA, which makes this stock pretty good setup to run it back up to that resistance level of 315. Now the low possible support is going to be 292.62 for a strong buy. So resistance to break this week is going to be our target to hit 315.64. Support to hold at 292.63 to run this thing back up. If it doesn't hold this symmetrical flag, which is a pennant flag, and we're going to put the top part of that resistance on this pennant flag right here. So eventually back up to a double top right around 335 if it starts to get bullish and comes out with some good news. Now, you know, we've got a lot of bears out there on Tesla, and you only got a few bulls. Like Dan Ives still thinks this thing's going to go to 500, and I think it can. We just got to get through the rigmarole of these tariffs, and when we start to become bullish in the market again, I think this thing could possibly get up to that area. But my target is 334, just above 340 for right now, and hit that triple top right around 340. But we're at a solid support right here. This could easily come down and do a double bottom and hit that 292.63 and go long and just swing it all the way up to the 200 and the 50 SMA. Right now we're still bullish, but if that 50 crosses down over the 200, 50 SMA crosses down over the 200, that's going to be called a death cross. That means we could drop more. If we stay above the 200, this thing can run up and hit the 200 and kind of consolidate and eventually get back up to 334, 340. But for right now, just take it day by day. We are definitely at a solid support. So we're going to write down Tesla. That's number 3. Now AMD's been a great trade for me here lately. Also Intel's under 20 bucks. So AMD's had one heck of a run, all the way from $76 back during March, and it's run all the way up almost 100. It's run up 100%. So we could consolidate, and we're going to put a Fibonacci on this. We're going to look at this a little bit different. We're going to put our fibs, and we're going to take the top of that resistance channel and run it all the way to the bottom. And see, to me, that's too big of a sell-off, because we got a gap right in here, so I'm going to erase that. Or we could take it to the first support and run it off the 21. So that kind of looks good right there. I'm going to go ahead and put a price line right off that 21. And then I'm going to look at the weekly and get rid of these Fibonacci's. Yeah, the 9 would be the lowest possible support, right around 146. And that is a confirmation and that to this here previous low that we had right here. So we're going to put a price line right there. And that should hold. If it doesn't hold the 159.34. For right now, we got to break a resistance, and we got to, if it wants to stay very bullish, It needs to stay above 170.72. But if we pull back, that 160 area is a great spot. So I'm going to put a little alert right in there. And I'm going to put 160. I'm going to say on the weekly time frame, what was that? Solid support. So I'll type in weekly. Solid support with 146.52 off the 9 EMA. And I'll put a little alert right there above the 9. I'd done this trick one time before where I sat and just traded 5 stocks throughout the week, and I was able to make trades off them 5 all week long. And all I had to do was just watch 5 stocks all week long. And it's easy to do. That's why I tell people to start off small, 10 stocks on a watch list, and then start building it up with more experience. And as you go, you'll learn news and things to add to that watch list. And you'll start get accustomed to watching the same stocks every single day over and over. And if you come in and one's down 1 or 2%, it could be an opportunity for a nice little scalp trade all the way up, back up a little bit and make a good little scalp or day trade out of it. And maybe even a swing trade if the pullback is harsh enough. But these got to be your favorite stocks that you repeatedly watched over and over every single day. I call out the same stocks every day. I look at the same stocks every day. And I've done that for the last 21 years. So we're going to take this to the daily now and see if any of these here rhyme up to the daily time frame. And that's where I kind of get, okay, well, I have a double confirmation. Like this 160 area. 159 runs right into the 21 EMA. And I also have how it respected the 9 all the way up, which is that first support. So we could easily hold that and start to consolidate back up, or we could have a nice little pullback and be a strong buy at that 159, 160 area. And then we've got a gap. See, we got a gap right here where we held before. So, you want to go ahead and put that right in there and have a gap trade. And I'm going to put a little flag in there, and this is on the daily. And I call it a gap fill. So it could easily hold that gap at that 153.67 and be a very strong buy. But for right now, you're bullish as long as you stay above the 9 on the daily, and you can run this thing back up and try to find some resistance to break right at that price level right there on the body of that bottom body of that candle, that red one. Up. Somewhere around 176 would be your next resistance to break, or this double top. So you want to kind of keep that in mind, that double top. And I'm going to put a resistance level alert at or above, and then I'm going to put double top on the daily. So that's AMD, that's number 4. And I got one more to go, one more to pick. And there's a bunch of good ones in here. Like, look at here. Coin dipped $63. Google HIMS is a good one. HIMS is really one that I added to my watch list here in the last couple weeks. You got Mr. MSTR, which is down $35. So let's go through some of these right here, and I'll pick one out of this that I do like. Let's look at Google first. So we have a Head and Shoulders right here on Google. I'm going to pick one out of these next 4 or 5 here. We got a Head and Shoulders, which means we could easily pull back to the 9 and be a strong buy on Google. So I'm going to put a price line right off the 9 EMA, and then I'm going to set an alert right above it. Type in 181, and these averages will move around in the time, but for right now we're going to type in 181.45 support off 9 EMA weekly. And that's what we want to hold. If we can't hold that 181.45, we can dip on down and hit the next support, which is that support level right there off the 21. So I'm going to put a price line right there too. Then I'm going to come in here and look at the daily. So we got the Head and Shoulders. We definitely can pull back and hit the 21 on the daily. We bounced off the 21 here, and we could bounce off of it here. And then you see that we bounced off the 50 SMA down here on the daily for a strong buy. So anything, we're going to put an alert right above that 50 SMA. I'm going to put strong buy. At 178.56. No, what am I doing here? Let me go back and look at the... Let's put a price line right here. And the 50, that's what I was talking about. Price line right there. And set that alert just a little bit above the 50. So that's, what is that? 178.56. 50 SMA on daily. I'll go back and watch these videos that I do. If I see a pullback on it, I want to go back and I'll go back through my video. So hit that like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And go back when you have a question about one of these 5 stocks that I'm talking about to maybe get in and trade. So I'm just going to put that one on there. That's going to be one of them that my 5th one maybe. I just want to look at the hour on this. Yeah, see, that'd be a pretty solid pullback. And then I'm going to put a price line right here just in case. So we got to hold that 187.39. If that doesn't hold, then we've got some ideas to trade right here. And I'm going to call this one here a triple top break. Set the alert there on the 1 hour. That's all I'll need to do. Triple top break support on the hour time frame. Usually they'll come back and they'll hit that. So there's my 3 when I go this week and I start looking at the hour time frame. I'll look at the hour and I'll look at the 30-minute. The next one's going to be coin. I really like Google, so I'm going to put a star on it. We had a pretty good sell-off on this thing. Any more pullback on this is going to be a strong buy. We could easily hold that 187.39. Coin took a big hit, and it's almost down at my low support. So let's see where I got this from. First, we'll look at the weekly, and it's right off the 21. So this could be a solid buy come this week, or we could dip down any more, but I like this stock right here a lot. I'm going to set an alert for strong buy. The 21 EMA. On weekly. And that holds, that'll be good. If not, we're going to come down and hit this real good solid support right around 268, 269. But for right now, let's see if we can keep this above 300 bucks. I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm going to put coin down there too. But it's not going to be in my, it could be in my top 25. This looks real nice. And then we got HIMS. HIMS is up here. It had a triple top. It's hard to say. It's hard to chart this one up because I want to use the weekly. And I'll just do a double top. Triple top right there. Triple top body candle to break resistance at 64.66 and support on the weekly no lower than the body of that candle, that red one right there. And that's right above the 9. So we'll type in 9, support off the 9 EMA at 54.40. And resistance to break will be 64.66. So let's take this to the daily. Yeah. Solid support at 60.24 to stay bullish. And if that don't hold, easy drop, another $6, $4, maybe off that alert, or at 54.40. I like that alert right off the 21. I'm going to raise that up just a little bit because I want to catch that 21. So I'm going to re-alert that. Let's put the price line first. Yeah, the price line goes first. They could easily come back and hit that 63 too. You see where we bounced off the 63 all them times? This has had a good run here in the past week. So it can easily come back down and consolidate in between all that and hit that 21. I'll keep it down there. I like that 21. I'm not going to put this on the I'm going to put it up here. I'll be watching it, but it's not going to be my top one. $21 EMA on daily. And then I'm just going to look at the hour. Hour 20 day. Yeah, I mean, I like that 200 right there too. So I'm going to set an alert right there. It's always good to set alerts. And 200 EMA on hour. And the last one will be Mr. Some call Master. This one had a pretty harsh sell-off. 35 bucks on Friday. A little bit too much. A lot of fat cats missed the boat. And we rode the boat. So this thing, you know, if it gets dangerous, it can drop another. We're at support right now at the 21 on the weekly. So we could have a head and shoulders down here at 311. I'm going to go right above the 50. And hold the support at the 21. And run back up and hit a head and shoulders up here. So let's put that head and shoulders trend line here. And that'll be your resistance to break right around 412, 409. So that's where it could run up to. And do a double touch on that shoulder. There's your left shoulder. There's your head. So it pulls back and it comes back and hits the right shoulder once. Pulls back again and then runs up and breaks the right shoulder to a double top. Or we pull back and hit the 50. And that's all in a weekly time frame. So let's see where these line up on the daily. Yeah, this one looks like it could be ready. I'd watch Mr. real close. We're going to put a price line here on the daily right above the 200, right on this here thing. That's where we're going to put that price line and set that alert right off that candle right there. And set the alert just right above it. And I'm going to say first support. The 200 SMA. On daily. This one could be really, really ready. So I'm going to put Mr. MSTR, and I've got substitutes just in case none of these five work out very well. No lower than 348.65. I like this a lot. Let's look at the hour. Let's look at the 90-day hour. See, it's oversold. It's way oversold. We could bounce back up Monday. This thing could start to reverse Monday. We're down at a 190-day support level right now. So just a little bitty dip and then start to run back up. This could be a great day trade all week long. Or even long. So I'm going to keep a real good eye on Mr. These are the five that I'm going to be watching that are on the list. And we're going to type in, if you want to go ahead and do the list with me, we'll type in NVIDIA. These are my top five that I'll be watching this week. And that'll be NVIDIA, Tesla, Amazon, AMD, and MSTR. And we'll put that in there. Whoops. And then I'm going to type in add-ons right here. Ones that I'll be watching along with it. Which I might make trades on them too. Add-ons. We've got Google, Coin, and HIMS. And I'm going to throw a bonus one in here that I think we got earnings coming out on this week, and that's going to be what? What had great news last week? And I'll type in bonus. Bonus trade. Here it comes. Get ready. PLTR / earnings. And let's look at PLTR right now. Let's go ahead and I'm going to make a little picture of this while I'm sitting here. So let me do a little bit of set me up a little. Whoop. I'll get it right. Okay, let's do PLTR. Let's go to clean this up. Let's go to the weekly. You definitely got the 9 for a solid support on PLTR this week. And if we hold the 9, we stay bullish. So we'll put a price line here. I'll set me a little alert. The 9 EMA on weekly. Then we'll go to the daily. I'm going to be very bullish on this stock. They got a huge contract. Right now we're holding up to 21. So that's your first support. And then if that doesn't hold, we got the 50, we got a little bit of hold right down here off the 50 SMA. And I'll type in an alert right above that 50 SMA on the daily. Solid support. $50 SMA on daily. And that's it. That's going to be your bonus stock for this week, with resistance to break right around 160, 169, 159, 160. 160 will be your resistance to break. So this is what I suggest for you to do this week is, if you're new to trading and you start creating a watch list. I'm going to be following this watch list all week long and talking about it live on YouTube. I am live, PLTR, and I'll be doing that for a little bit longer, I don't know. But for right now, I've been live on YouTube for about 3 years, and I've been showing my ideas and how to trade my style. And like I said, I talk about chart patterns, moving averages, and being in the now. And this is the Sneaky Snake Trading Strategy with Washboardjim. And please subscribe, ring that bell. Go back and watch these videos over and over again if you're in the middle of the week and you want to kind of see where I call these support levels out. And I'll be giving updates throughout the week on these top 9 stocks. Again, NVDA, Amazon, Tesla, AMD, and MSTR are going to be my top 5. Along with substitutes of Google, Coin, and HIMS. And then the bonus trade will be PLTR. PLTR to me has got some great earnings. It's up huge. I mean, we're up from $21 in a year all the way up to 160. So, I mean, some could say it's overbought, and we could have a nice little pullback and hit that 50 SMA on the daily and be a strong buy back up to the upside. But We got earnings coming out, and I think any small reaction to the earnings, if it's a pullback, will be a strong buy also. So I wish you all a great day, and we'll see you this coming week. Washboardjim signing out.